Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Fanatic Edge Omen V2. This is an Elijah Isham design. I think a lot of you will look at this and say, yeah, that kind of looks like Elijah Isham. Very cool. Thanks so much to Fanatic Edge for sending this in for me to take a look at. I really appreciate that. I'm going to link this guy right down below because it's absolutely available and there is a wide variety of options. But before you do that, I want to clarify, this is the standard version, which comes in at about $365. These are made by Riyadh. I know that sounds expensive. I'm going to talk about Riyadh and this knife, right? But there are also versions of this that are heavily customized on the Fanatic Edge website, and those come in at substantially more money. So the more customized it is, the more money it's going to cost. Please excuse my voice. I have all but lost it, so I'm going to be talking much more quietly, much closer to the camera, and much more sort of, I don't know, close up and personal in a library. Sorry about that. Thanks to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this guy. Overall length of the Fanatic Edge Omen is coming in at, it's shorter than you would expect. It's almost 8 inches, about 7.85 inches overall. Definitely a 3.5 inch blade though, and very nearly a 3.5 inch cutting edge. How about some size comparisons up against the Ontario, I guess we're doing the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue first. I don't know why I grabbed that one first. So there it is up against the Ritter Hogue and the Bug Out. You can see it's definitely still a full-size knife. It's just not quite the same overall length as the Ritter Hogue. How about up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and its little brother, the Ontario Rat Model 2. You can see here it's definitely sort of in between. Last but not least, the Spyderco PM2, excuse me, and the Spyderco Para 3, once again, sort of right in between. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. So thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. You can see here, it's a little bit thicker, right? Reasonably thick slabs of titanium on either side. Not anything insane, but definitely something that some of you are going to want to keep in mind before you pick this up. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. You can see here, it's definitely a little longer than the Para 3, a little bit, a little shorter than the PM2, and it does get tall in places, right? Not quite the same height as the PM2. In fact, it's still quite a bit shorter. Even back here, the tail end, the PM2 and Para 3 are still going to be taller. So it's going to be thickness and definitely some of the angles and some of the pointy tippies that are coming off of the side of this knife that are going to bother some people. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I promise I'm fine. My allergies are just ridiculous this time of year. I believe everything in this knife is T8. Yeah. Oh, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the description. Yeah, we have T8 hardware across the board, and then even the pocket clip screws actually are T8. That's wonderful. Oh, the lock bar insert screw is also a T8, so that's just great. Really happy that they decided to do that. That's a big win in my book. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness. Wow, there's a glass over here that I just bonked this the calipers against. Blade stock thickness on this guy is coming in at about 155 thousandths. It seems like it's not that thick. Let's try again. Yeah, it's about 155 thousandths. Okay. That's pretty thick, but I don't know. Definitely it's going to create for a tougher geometry. So yeah, it's kind of a win-lose. You know, it depends on how you look at it. What are we looking at for materials? We are looking at titanium. We are looking at, where's the blade steel? I just saw it. There it is. LMAX, which is great. I have no problem with LMAX. I actually really like LMAX. If you're wondering, these are hardened to 61 to 62, which is appropriate for LMAX. There is no internal milling on this guy. Can we see in there? No internal milling. So fairly heavy. Not the craziest thing in the whole world. It's not necessarily a monster knife. So the weight comes in at a, in my opinion, a reasonable 4.69 ounces. Ratios aren't perfect, but it's still not that heavy of an object. This is, however, a pretty pointy object. I'm not saying it's sharp. It's just, yeah, this is an Isham design. So those of you who are familiar with Elijah Isham know that his designs tend to be unapologetically pointy, right? It's not like Elijah's going, oh gosh, I sure hope I can make a less pointy design this time. No, he's going to do whatever he's going to do, right? The guy makes some of the most instantly recognizable things out there, right? They may not be for everybody, but they are pretty consistently pointy, right? They just kind of are. So if that kind of thing doesn't bother you, you should be okay. If it does bother you, then don't buy it. Let's move on to the meat and potatoes of this review. So the first pointy thing that you're going to interact with is definitely the flipper tab. Now, this is an adaption thing. I kind of like to approach the flipper tab to do a push button flip. If you're going to do that, you are definitely going to end up doing this. Yeah, that's definitely going to happen, right? Cue the nuclear explosion. Oof. You got to get up high on this flipper tab. Light switch it. If you do that, you're fine. The curvature down here follows the curvature of the titanium frame, so it acts as a nice guard, right? Just be aware of that. It actually is pretty well knocked down on all sides. It's just the angle of it. If you're used to doing that push button thing, right, it's not going to work. You got to get up here on top of it and flip it down, right? A lot of people say, oh, whoa, that's stupid. Oh, it goes without saying. Well, as absent-mindedly as we all are with our knives, I can guarantee you know what this feels like. Watch, are you ready? You know what this feels like. You know what that feels like. Don't tell me that that's obvious. Yeah, it is obvious. The problem is that it's not always, the end result because we don't always pay attention. So there you go. I made you watch that and feel that pain with me. It hurts, right? The titanium looks great. This is very typical Riat quality, right? You may not like the look of this. You may not like the pointiness. But man, that quality is there. Riat, this is why, right? When people say, it's just titanium and element, this is why knives from Riat cost more money. They are made better. I have so many Riats in my collection, and I will gladly pay 100, 200, sometimes 300 more for a Riat, depending on what it is, because they're so well polished. The detent is fantastic. The action is fantastic. Just the overall finish work, unlike the blade and the handle, is just really, really nice. There's just this extra layer of precision that goes into Riat knives, right? Makes you feel good about the money that you're going to spend. Ergonomically, it's okay. I mean, it's definitely shaped to where your hand can find the obvious place to hold it. It's just weird that it's such a skinny, very angry hornet body, right? That's what it makes me. This whole knife looks like a robot hornet. I mean, look at it here with me. Doesn't it? Here. Imagine some wings on it and it's going in for a sting, right? That's what it looks like to me. It's like you grab it and you go, oh, okay, yeah, this is clearly made for my hand, but it's not necessarily comfortable. It's all right. It's not terrible, but I'm not going to call it comfortable either. I definitely noticed that pocket clip. It's weird holding on to such a skinny handle when you have such a big, the blade has so much visual and physical presence. It's just like, wow, I don't think that I would want to cut for a long period of time with this, whether I was wearing gloves or not. I think I'd want more roundedness and just more material here. But for a quick cut, or if you're just messing around with it on the couch, right, which, let's be honest, that's what a lot of people are going to do, you're okay. If you're the type of person like me where you get your knife out maybe a couple times a day and just do a quick cut, you're going to be okay, right? But if your folding knife is like your dedicated, consistent cutter, like if you daily are cutting with a folding knife for 10, maybe 10 minutes at a time, it might not be very comfortable, right? Fit and finish is really great, though. I love that there's a pivot collar there, and I'll explain why here in a little bit. This blade is just gorgeous. This sort of, I don't know if we want to call it a harpoon, right? Modified drop point compound tanto. Blade geometry aficionados. They're like, no, actually, the correct way to, whatever. You call it whatever you want. We have a hollow grind up front, and then we have a flat grind out here. So nice, very robust tip. Not a tip that's going to break easily. We have a flat that carries out about 85% the length of the blade. It actually does get pretty thin down here. I normally don't like recurves. It takes a very special geometry for me to like visually a recurve. A lot of people are asking, that recurve, is that gonna make cutting easier? I don't know. There might be certain materials or ways that you could cut, or certain scenarios where drawing the material, that's the purpose of a recurve here, is to draw the material into a heavier part of the blade, I guess. I don't really know. I think, for the vast majority of us just cutting open Amazon packages, I think it will do that just fine. You might find yourself hung up on a lot of stuff that an easier cut would occur if you had something that was just a simple flat ground blade, right? But if the whole world was full of simple flat ground blades that were just perfect for slicing, that type of material, this would be a really boring knife world. So this isn't going to be the most efficient blade in the world, but I'm still glad it exists stuff like this exists just to break up the otherwise very boring, right? If everything was just like, oh, it's so purposeful and, it's just like high speed, low drag and everything is perfect. Okay, well, that would be a very boring world. So I'm glad that this exists. So anyways, yeah, the blade looks gorgeous, and I love, Riyadh does such a good tumbled finish. We've talked about this so many times. That's just spectacular. That slight reflectivity and the even tumble, really, really nice. Of course, you do have an option, actually. Let's go ahead and talk about options, because that's what makes this cool. If you don't know who Fanatic Edge is, Fanatic Edge has been around for a long time. They do awesome custom work. In fact, I think you can contact them for custom work on your own knife. I'll make sure that they're linked down below so you can do that. But you'll find lots of knives that are made and produced by other companies that they have that they've got on their website and they have customized. I've actually purchased a knife that was created by, it was an Adam Purvis Xerx, but it was customized and sold brand new by Fanatic Edge, and it was gorgeous. In fact, you can actually go watch that video. If you type in Metal Complex and then Xerx, you can probably see the unboxing in my video on it. But it was as if it came from the factory that way. A lot of times custom work, there's kind of an obvious like, yeah, it's custom, but you can see somebody took it apart and it wasn't like the best kind of, disassembly and reassembly, right? It doesn't look like factory quality work. No, Fanatic Edge, all their custom jobs look like factory, like straight from the original OEM. It's that good. Seriously, they're excellent. Now, this is a plain Jane version of it. A lot of people might like this look, right? You can also get a satin blade. You can get a black handle, right? But then there are lots and lots of options for anodization of the pivot hardware, the pivot collar, right? The coating or tumbling on the blade or the satin fit. Like, just if you go look at all of the different options, follow that link down there and take a look. Yeah, the more stuff that you add, the more expensive it's going to get. But that's the cool thing about this being a Fanatic Edge original. Like, well, it's a collaboration with Elijah Isham, but an original through Fanatic Edge. It's much like a lot of their other stuff. You can start with the plainest version. You can go with that, or you can customize it almost as much as you want. I don't know this for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if you said, if you contacted them and said, could you do this? Maybe it's not an option that you guys list, but would you do this? It wouldn't surprise me if they would go out of their way to do something like that. I think that's really cool, right? Now, the end price is not going to be something that makes everybody happy, but it's one of those things where it's really neat that we have the option, right? It's not like they're like, here's what we do. Here's like 3 different options and they're all $500. No, you have the option to buy the base version, which is beautiful in and of itself, this monochromatic version, this Terminator version at $365. And then you can do little steps or little half steps, or you can make it as crazy as you want, whatever you're comfortable paying for. I think that's really cool. I think that's legitimately, what's the best L word? I think that's the best part about this knife. Moving on here, we do have a titanium backspacer, which looks good. the same color in here. But again, this is an opportunity for contrast, right? Or customization. You can change this up. They offer a wide range of different anno colors that you can do. Same with the pocket clip. Pocket clip's all right. It definitely follows the theme of the knife. And it goes in and out of the pocket relatively easily. Carry depth is about here, so you do have a little bit of that wasp stinger sticking up out of your pocket, but it's all right. We have a lock bar insert, steel lock bar insert that is doubling as the over travel stop, so that's great. Detent is just fantastic, excuse me. We have an internal stop pin. It's actually writing on the blade, so contacting both sides of the frame. Really like that. We're locking up at, can we see that there? What is that, 30%, something like that? Zero blade play, up, down, left, or right. That is absolutely something that I expect with every Riot knife that I handle, and it's always there. No pivot lash, and definitely no detent lash. This thing is super solid. So, it's a bit thick, it's a bit pokey, it's definitely not the most comfortable thing ergonomically. That blade shape is definitely not going to create, for the most pleasurable cutting experience. It's a fairly thick wedge with an awkward recurve. There are some specific scenarios where that recurve might, grant a better cutting experience, but for the most part, it's just a really handsome looking blade with a pretty thick geometry. This is a unique looking knife. It's definitely very futuristic, and it's going to attract people specifically for that reason, and it's going to turn other people off specifically for that reason. It's just one of those things. For people who do like this, they'll be really happy that they can customize it. People who like high quality materials, Riot's super high quality manufacturing level or manufacturing quality. If you're into that, then you're really going to like this. The basic fact, though, is that this is just not a knife for everybody, right? I'm not saying because it's expensive. No, I definitely have openly recommended knives that are substantially more expensive than this. It's not because of the price. If it fits in your budget and you're at that level, right, then yeah, go ahead, right? Not everybody has to get to that level, but it's not like knives over a certain price point are just not recommendable because they're expensive. No, it just depends on what your budget will or won't allow, right? For the price, this is in the right tier, right? This is not at $365. Yeah, that's fine. For what this is, I don't have a problem with that, right? This is Riot level. This is a totally different, this is not your basic kind of ZT Wii, it's not the same. Those are good. Wii knives and ZT knives, they're fine. But this is on another level. If you like that stuff, this is going to be for you. I don't think it's going to be for everybody, though, just because of, the look and Elijah Isham designs are like that. They're definitely not designed for everybody. They're designed, the way that he wants to design them. And then some people really enjoy the aesthetic and some people don't, right? So that's going to be how it is. Anyways, I think that's going to be pretty much it today. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives. They're either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.